Across centuries, this temple stands resilient.
High in the Dangrek Mountains, where the cliffs rise like a natural wall between Cambodia and Thailand, lies a temple that time has nearly forgotten. Its name is Prasat Ta Krabei, the Temple of the Grandfather Buffalo. The name itself is curious, almost rustic, but behind it lies a story of kings and gods, of pilgrims and soldiers, of borders drawn and redrawn. Unlike Angkor Wat, which dazzles with grandeur, or Bayon, which astonishes with its smiling faces, Ta Krabei is modest. Its stones are weathered, its carvings unfinished, its sanctuaries quiet. Yet this temple has witnessed 1,000 years of history. It has seen the Khmer Empire rise to glory and fall into silence. It has endured the creeping jungle, the scars of war, and the disputes of modern politics. To walk through its corridors is to step into a forgotten chapter of Southeast Asia's story. Every stone is a page, every carving a sentence, every ruin a reminder that history is not only written in books, but carved into the earth itself. This is the entire history of Prasat Ta Krabei, the forgotten temple of the buffalo, a sentinel of stone standing at the edge of empires.
Geography is destiny, and nowhere is this clearer than at Prasat Ta Krabei. The temple sits atop the Dangrek Mountains, a rugged escarpment stretching for hundreds of kilometers. To the north lies the Korat Plateau of Thailand. To the south, the fertile plains of Cambodia. For centuries, this mountain pass was a gateway. Armies marched through it, traders carried goods, pilgrims journeyed to Angkor. Imagine it as the medieval equivalent of a highway interchange, a place where roads converged, where travelers paused, where power was asserted. The temple's unusual orientation, facing south rather than the traditional east, was no accident. It was built to greet those climbing the pass, to bless them as they entered Khmer lands, and to remind them of the empire's reach. From its walls, one could see far into the plains below, a commanding view that was both spiritual and strategic. Prasat Ta Krabei was not just a temple, it was a sentinel, a stone guardian watching over the empire's frontier, where geography and faith intertwined. In the 11th century, the Khmer Empire was at its zenith. From Angkor, kings ruled over lands stretching from the South China Sea to the borders of Burma. Their power was expressed not only in armies, but in stone. Temples rose across the empire, not just in the capital, but in distant provinces, binding them to Angkor. Prasat Ta Krabei was one such outpost. It was a frontier temple, a marker of Khmer presence in the Dangrek Mountains. To the traveler, it was a place of prayer. To the soldier, it was a fortress. To the king, it was a symbol, proof that his authority extended even to the edges of the empire. The Khmer Empire was a civilization of builders. Angkor Wat dazzled with its scale, Bayon astonished with its faces, but Ta Krabei impressed with its position, perched on the edge of a cliff, a reminder that the empire's reach was as vast as the mountains themselves.
Prasat Ta Krabei was built in the 11th century during the golden age of the Khmer Empire. Dedicated to Shiva, it housed a sacred linga, the Svayambhu Linga, the self-emergent stone believed to embody divine presence. The temple's name, Grandfather Buffalo, may come from carvings of Yama, the god of death, riding a buffalo, or perhaps from local legends where a buffalo spirit guarded the mountain pass. Imagine the scene. pilgrims climbing the steep Dangrek slopes, carrying offerings of flowers and rice, soldiers resting at the gates, their elephants tethered nearby, priests chanting hymns to Shiva, their voices echoing through the sanctuary. Ta Krabei was not just a shrine, it was a beacon, a marker of Khmer presence on the frontier, a place where faith and empire met. The temple is cruciform in shape, built of sandstone, with entrances on all four sides. At its center stood the sanctuary, housing the sacred linga. 4 gopuras, gateway towers, faced the cardinal directions, symbolizing the cosmic order. Yet the temple was never finished. Much of its exterior remains uncarved, its walls bare. It is as if the builders laid down their tools and never returned. Was it war? Was it the death of a king? Or was it simply abandoned as priorities shifted? This unfinished quality gives Ta Krabei a haunting beauty. It is like a symphony cut short, a story left incomplete. And yet, even in its incompleteness, it speaks of ambition, of vision, of a civilization that sought to carve eternity into stone. Walking through its corridors today, you feel the weight of time. The stones are warm under the sun, the jungle presses close, and the silence is broken only by the wind. The carvings are weathered, the walls scarred by centuries of conflict. Yet the temple endures, a sentinel of stone on the edge of empires. At the heart of Prasat Ta Krabei once stood its most sacred treasure, the Svayambhu Linga. To the Khmer, this was no ordinary stone. It was believed to be self-emergent, not carved by human hands, but a direct manifestation of Shiva himself. Pilgrims who climbed the Dangrek Pass would kneel before it, their foreheads pressed to the cool stone floor. Priests poured water over the linga, letting it flow into channels carved into the sanctuary floor. That water, now blessed, was collected in vessels and sprinkled over worshippers as a divine gift. For centuries, this ritual linked heaven and earth. The linga was not just an object, it was the axis of the universe, the point where the mortal world touched the divine. Today, the linga is gone, stolen or destroyed in the chaos of history. But the pedestal remains, empty yet powerful. To stand before it is to feel the echo of countless prayers, a silence heavy with memory. Prasat Ta Krabei is striking for what it is, and for what it is not. Unlike Angkor Wat or Bayon, its carvings are incomplete. Many walls remain bare, their surfaces rough, as if the sculptors had just begun their work. Why was it never finished? Historians debate. Perhaps war interrupted construction. Perhaps the king who commissioned it died, leaving no successor to continue. Perhaps resources were diverted to grander projects closer to Angkor. Whatever the reason, Ta Krabei is a frozen moment in time, a glimpse into the ambitions and uncertainties of empire. It is like a half-written manuscript, a symphony cut short. And yet, in its incompleteness, it has a haunting beauty. The unfinished walls remind us that history is not always neat, that even great civilizations leave behind mysteries. Ta Krabei was not alone. Across the Dangrek Mountains, a chain of temples marked the Khmer frontier. Each was a link in a network that stretched from Angkor to Phimai, binding the empire together. Nearby shrines and chapels served pilgrims and soldiers,
Together, they formed a sacred landscape, a constellation of stone sanctuaries, each glowing with devotion. To the traveler, these temples were milestones. To the king, they were markers of power. To the people, they were places of comfort, where the divine was never far away.
What was life like around Ta Krabei? Imagine a day in the 12th century. Dawn breaks and smoke rises from cooking fires. Merchants unload goods, rice, salt, cloth, spices. Soldiers sharpen weapons, their elephants tethered nearby. Monks sweep temple courtyards, their saffron robes bright against the stone. Children chase each other through the grass, their laughter echoing off the walls. The temple was not isolated. It was alive. It was a crossroads of faith and commerce, a place where the empire's great highway touched ordinary lives. And though centuries have passed, if you walk the ruins today, you can almost hear those echoes. The footsteps, the chants, the laughter carried on the wind.
But no empire lasts forever. By the 14th century, Angkor was in decline. Climate shifts disrupted irrigation. Enemies pressed in. The great highways fell silent. As Angkor weakened, so too did Ta Krabei. The caravans stopped coming. The priests left. The jungle crept back. Vines twisting through stone, roots cracking walls. For centuries, the temple lay forgotten, its sanctuaries empty, its carvings unfinished. Only the mountains remembered, holding the ruins in their silent embrace.
The story of Ta Krabei did not end with Angkor. In the 20th century, colonial powers redrew the map of Southeast Asia. French surveyors mapped Cambodia. Thai officials mapped Siam, but their lines were vague, their surveys incomplete. As a result, temples like Ta Krabei became contested ground. Was it Cambodian? Was it Thai? Both nations claimed it, each citing maps and treaties. The temple, once a place of prayer, became a pawn in geopolitics. Soldiers camped near its walls. Flags were raised and lowered. Barbed wire scarred the landscape. It is a reminder that history is not only about the past, it is also about how we choose to interpret it today. The late 20th century brought darker times. During the 1980s and 90s, the Khmer Rouge controlled the Dangrek Mountains. Ta Krabei, like many temples, was looted. Sculptures were stolen, sometimes blasted out with dynamite. Priceless heritage vanished into the black market. The temple became a battlefield. Mines were laid. Soldiers fought among the ruins. The sanctuaries that once echoed with prayers now echoed with gunfire. For Cambodians, this was not just the loss of stone. It was the loss of memory, of identity, of history itself. The scars of that era are still visible, in the missing carvings, in the shattered walls, in the silence that lingers.
In the 2000s, tensions flared again. Cambodia and Thailand both stationed troops near the temple. Skirmishes erupted. Civilians fled. News cameras captured the irony. Rifles resting on thousand-year-old stones. Soldiers crouching behind walls built for gods. A temple meant to unite through faith became a front line of division. Yet through it all, the temple endured. Its stones, indifferent to human quarrels, stood as they had for centuries, silent witnesses to the folly of men.
Today, Ta Krabei is slowly being rediscovered. Archaeologists study its stones, tracing inscriptions, mapping foundations. Tourists, when allowed, walk its corridors, marveling at its position on the cliff. But access remains restricted. Soldiers still guard the site. The border dispute is unresolved. Preservation is difficult in such contested ground. Yet the temple stands. Its walls may be scarred, its carvings weathered, but it endures. And in its endurance, it offers hope that heritage can survive politics, that memory can outlast conflict.
Prasat Ta Krabei is not the largest Khmer temple, nor the most ornate, but it is one of the most symbolic. It tells us that temples were not only places of worship, but also way stations of empire, part of a network that bound Angkor to its provinces. It reminds us that geography shapes history, that a mountain pass can become a corridor of faith and power. And it warns us that heritage is fragile, looted in war, scarred by politics, yet still standing. Today, as Cambodia and Thailand debate its ownership, perhaps the temple itself offers a lesson. Its stones do not care about borders. They speak instead of shared history, of a time when culture flowed freely across mountains and plains. Prasat Ta Krabei is a reminder that the past belongs to all of us, and that its preservation is our shared responsibility.